Welcome to a new video series where we share industry insights from the manufacturer's point of view. We'll give you our expertise on a wider range of topics from trade show, audiovisual, party rental that we learn from you each and every day. We'll be talking about what's important, what's hot, and really what everyone's talking about. We hope you watch Industry Insights, a Georgia Expo Perspective. In this episode, we'll be talking about flame retardancy and flame resistant drapes and what all that means. It's a complicated topic that we get asked about often, so I hope to shed some light on the topic. We'll be talking about 4 things today regarding flame resistant drapes. First, why do your drapes need to be flame resistant? Second, we'll talk about what to watch out for when you're purchasing drapes. Thirdly, we'll get into the different classification ratings of flame retardancy. And lastly, I'll give you what Georgia Expo does to make sure your drapes are flame resistant and that you're following all the regulations and laws. So why do your drapes need to be flame resistant? Well, it's the law in many states, and most of the reputable venues out there are going to require your drapes to be flame resistant. Basically, places where people gather, so stadiums, arenas, convention centers, civic centers, even churches would require your drapes to be flame resistant. Most states are going to either follow the national standard, which is NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, or the California standard. For NFPA, the test that's required for your drapes is called NFPA 701. And for California, it's California Title 19, where the fabric has to be registered with the state fire marshal. The good news is Georgia Expo tests all of our drapes to both of these standards. For all the historians out there, according to the NFPA website, tougher regulations really came about in 2003 when there was a deadly nightclub fire at the station in Rhode Island. There was a great white concert playing that night, and they were doing pyrotechnics, and the place went down in flames, killing 100 people and injuring about 178. So this is really one of the landmark historic events in U.S. history that put a highlight on the need to update regulations. So that's why we have the regulations we have today. Let's talk about what to watch out for when you're purchasing drapes. So in today's age, everything is digital. You can go on Google, you can search any type of drape you want and get lots of options that pop up. The problem with this is you probably are shopping based off price, and you may be finding a lower price drape somewhere, but maybe what you don't realize is the reason they're able to go so low in the price is because not all drapes and fabrics out there are flame resistant. So it's really important that you make sure the vendor you're buying from is a reputable vendor with a history, and that also the drapes are flame resistant. It would be awful if you bought something for a lower price, $1, $2 cheaper, and then you get a job site and you have to take all your drape down. Or even worse, in the middle of an event, if a fire marshal comes by and needs your paperwork and you have to take all of your drapes down during an event, you'll lose your one biggest asset, which is your reputation. So it's really, really important that when you are shopping online that you do make sure that you're purchasing drapes that are flame resistant, even if they do cost a little bit more. It pays off so much in the long run. The next thing you want to make sure is that the vendor you're buying from will send you a flame certificate with your purchase. We send a flame certificate out like this with our orders, and it kind of looks like this, different colors for different drapes, but it definitely has the registration number on it. It also gives you the information about how it was flame tested, and all of our flame certificates are going to have the associated order printed on the back so that you can always match up which order goes with which flame certificate. With most fabrics now coming from international sources, and that's just the nature of the business right now, you need to make sure that the vendor that you do choose is doing independent testing as well. So we don't want to just take the mill's word for it that they say it's flame retardant. We do independent testing once it gets here in the U.S. and then we sew the drape into curtains just as that extra precaution. So make sure the vendors that you're buying from do independent testing as well, and they're not just getting a flame certificate from their international source. The next thing when purchasing drapes is, and this is very common, when you're purchasing used drape, that's an awesome way for you to get a custom color or something a little bit funky at a reduced price. for your clients, or save some money if a company is going out of business. But please remember, when you're buying used drape, either from Facebook groups or from somebody in your community, that drape is pretty much going to be worthless unless they sell you the flame certificate with it. So it needs to come with the flame certificate. So when you're buying used drape, make sure you're asking that partner to provide you the flame certificate as well, or really it's going to be worthless, a worthless purchase for you. And as you are looking online at different drapes, read the descriptions. Make sure that they do say it is what type of flame rating it is. It's an FR, IFR, and we'll go over that a little bit later. And that it does ship with the flame certificate. So just kind of take that extra minute, make sure you're reading descriptions and that you really know who you're purchasing from. Thirdly, I'm going to explain the different classifications of flame retardancy. I'm sure you've seen FR, IFR, or DFR, and what do those different things mean to you, and that's important. So there's 3 different types of flame classifications. There's IFR, it's inherently flame resistant. There's DFR, there's durable flame resistant, and then there's FR. And fabrics can be flame resistant in the actual application process 2 different ways. So they can be topically treated fabrics, or the actual yarns of the fabrics are flame resistant and they're woven into the fabric. So for IFR, for what Georgia Expo classifies as inherently flame resistant, we take the fabric and we wash it 25 times and then we send it to the lab for test. And if it passes after 25 washes, we consider that IFR. So 25 washes is what we kind of consider to be the life of the drape. Certain drapes wash more than others, but for the life of the drape, if it's still considered flame retardant after that, that's what we classify as IFR, or inherently flame resistant. That's our highest level of flame resistance. And about 85% of our drapes are IFR. So that's a pretty good rating for us. That means the fabrics that you're buying from us, they're going to last the life of the product with no need to be retreated. DFR is the second classification of fabrics, durable flame resistant. Those fabrics are washed 5 times and sent to the lab for testing. And when they pass after 5 washes, those are considered durable flame resistant fabrics. So we have 2 fabrics that we sell that are durable flame resistant, meaning that they would need to be replaced or retreated after 5 washes. And then FR, which is what you might see commonly online, stands for flame resistant. And for the Georgia Expo standard, flame resistance, we can't say it's tested after 1 wash. So none of our fabrics right now are FR fabrics. So you just want to be careful when you're buying flame resistant fabric too from other sources, that FR, even though it is flame resistant, after you wash that drape, you may need to have it retreated or repurchased. Lastly, I want to talk to you a little bit about what Georgia Expo does as far as flame certifications goes. So first, we do test all of our fabrics in an independent testing lab, and we do this pretty religiously. We take testing and flame testing very seriously for all the reasons that I mentioned above. We do use an independent lab. We also provide each order with a flame certificate. I think I showed you guys this earlier. With the registration number associated with the order on the back. So this is really important that you keep this on file. If you get an overzealous fire marshal who wants this documentation, we can actually look up your order and provide that for you as a replacement if you do lose it. Or if you do have a fire marshal that's looking for further information about the actual testing documents, we can provide those on request as well. We test to couple different tests, which we went over, but I'll just review it one more time. We test to NFPA 701, which is your national standard small scale test. We test to California Title 19. And then we also, more recently in 2017, we now test the Canadian standard, which is the CANULC S10914 small scale test. So those are the 3 tests that we test all of our fabrics to. If your state requires something different, you can contact us and we can partner you with our independent testing lab and give you prices to do additional tests that your state might require. But most states, like I mentioned earlier, these are the industry standard tests that they generally follow, the NFPA 701 and the California small scale test. All of our drapes too, they include a drape tag. I did bring an example of that. So the tags that are sent onto the drape, unless you choose a custom tag, is going to look somewhat like this. and it's going to have the flame seal with the registration number on it as well, care instructions. But this is really nice when the fire marshal's going around and looking at drapes. They can see that this does have a seal associated with it. You can then scan the back and it takes you straight to our website where you can get more information about each of the fabrics as well. So that always puts the fire marshals and the venues a little bit more peace of mind. And you know, just us being around for 32 years, everyone kind of knows the household name Georgia Expo, which is always nice when you have Georgia Expo drapes. You don't get questions quite as much. So those are the things that we do, and I hope this video was helpful and shed some light on flame testing because it is super complicated. But if you have additional questions, please leave them in the comments below. And also, you know, with us doing this video series, we want to hear back from you. You know, what do you think about this? Is it helpful? Or if you have ideas for other topics that you'd like me to cover, please leave those in the comments below. We appreciate you watching. Have a good day.